Fun to Know production. And I have spent the day here at the Chevron Refinery in Richmond getting the word out about April being Sexual Assault Awareness Month. And how I've chosen to do that, I want you to know that this is not my alternative for thinking how everyone should deal with the situation that I'm in and how everyone should get the word out about this. So just bear with me and I will explain. Whoa. So that's kind of a little, aggressive, right? I don't know about you, but it makes the hair rise on the back of my neck and it makes my chest tighten and I feel really uncomfortable. And I think to myself, why do I come up with these ideas? And I just want to let you know that it comes from a place of love, because I didn't have the opportunity to know a lot about Alberto when I met him. For instance, that he's married and he has a girlfriend and things like that. And so because Alberto presents himself as one person and is actually a totally different person, and all of his internet stuff is consistent with this magical imaginary person that he can use to predate on women, I really feel a sense of duty and that I have to do what I can do to get the word out so that if a woman meets Alberto in the future, he presents himself as a single guy obsessed with his dog and who's a workaholic, that they have the opportunity to know my experience with him and then to make the best decision for them. So that's just sort of the micro personal thing that I'm doing today. But the macro, and actually much more important point for us to consider, is the fact that this is actually a cry for help, right? Because I did everything in our culture that someone can do. Meaning, I went to the police, and it's very, very, very hard for the police to deal with regular, everyday rape cases. Because of evidentiary issues, and it's very important that you're innocent until proven guilty. So, I mean, I'm not here to say that the legal system should change. My point is that, look, if this is all that I can come up with to get the word out about something and to shine a light on the fact that sexual assault is rampant in our culture, to an extent that I don't even think that we admit it. I mean, I honestly think we're in denial. The whole idea that 1 in 6 American women is raped in her lifetime, 1 in 4 is sexually assaulted. I don't know about you, but before I did this project, I talked to a bunch of my girlfriends, and asked them, have you ever been sexually assaulted and raped? One friend said, no. That has never happened to me before. Neither of those things. Okay, so that's not a steady, and that's just life, right? And I, for instance, what am I as a stat? I've been raped 3 times, twice as a teenager, and now again as an adult, right? Do I count 3 times in that 1 out of 6? And so why I'm here today is to make the micro point to Bay Area people that Adalberto Betancourt is a sexual predator, and that you should be very careful around him and know that he exhibits behaviors that mean that you may not be safe. And then also the macro point, which is just as important, if not more important, which is, look, if I have to make a cry for help like that, are we doing in our culture what we need to do to stop this epidemic? Are we doing, I asked the police, let me be there when you talk to Adalberto, because I was there and I'm telling the truth. And I mean, anything he says, I'm sure that I can highlight it in a way that at least I can have closure, or at least someone can reflect back to him that he is damaged and that he needs help. That like a restorative justice kind of thing is what I was envisioning. And the detective who was working on my case was really nice, but he told me the truth. And he said, Inmini, I understand what you're envisioning as something that would be healing for you and ultimately good for Adalberto and the community at large in dealing with his sexual predation. But I'm just the police, and we're not equipped to deal with that, and we can't do that. And so that's led me to a much larger set of things to ponder, which is, well, what are we doing for our women and our men that are raped and sexually assaulted? Do we really have the frameworks in place that are automatic and understood and easily available and all of those things so that we can address what a toxic, pervasive thing this is in our culture, which admittedly, almost none of us want to deal with or think about. I don't want to think about it. This makes me feel terrible. I want to be at home watching football on TV, right? International football, not American football, but we'll talk about that another day. So look, I don't want to do this. This doesn't seem like a good remedy to me, but I swear it's the only way that I could do my job as a responsible citizen to make sure that women have information that they need to stay safe, and to make the larger point, this scream for help, to say, we need to do something more. We need to rethink this. And in my own thoughts, because, I can't go to Sacramento and create a governmental entity. This is what occurred to me is going to be my point and my message relative towards where should we go in our culture if we want to see this epidemic change. Think, look, protect. I think that for things to really change in America, number one, we have to admit that this is a toxic epidemic that affects directly or indirectly, basically, all of us. And in a way that's so hard to talk about and so hard to deal with, that it's just like a poison that none of us want to admit is around. Okay? And I think to address that, all of us have to become responsible. We have to think about this as an issue. We have to recognize what a part of our culture it is, and that we want it to be different. We have to look. We have to be ready to look in the face and admit when we see behavior that could fall into these kind of concepts. And protect, we have to be ready to do something about it. And so I know that there are times when I was in college or I was older that I saw situations that I thought were a little bit fishy or not a good idea, not a good thing. Like, hey, is that guy taking that drunk girl from the party? Oh, they do know each other. They live in the same dorm. I'll just look the other way because it's none of my business. You know what? I'm never going to do that again. I've decided that I'm going to think about this as something that I want to change. And so therefore, I'm going to look for it in our culture everywhere. And every time, no matter where it is or at what degree or whether I'm positive or not, I'm going to do what I can do to protect others. And I really hope that this message resonates with you in a way that you can say to yourself, you know what? Maybe I'm going to think too about the idea that if we really want the world to be a safer place and to address the epidemic of sexual assault in our culture, where the change is going to happen is with you and with me and with the people that work here at the Chevron Refinery and the people in your neighborhood and the people at work and the people you're sitting in traffic with. If all of us decide to think, look, and listen, it really will be a different world. Ugh.